All right, welcome back to the last video of setting up your pennant. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to look at grade ladder settings. So what we want to do is that we want to create our ladder settings for the purposes of, for presentation detail. Otherwise, we'll just use the defaults. So in a grade ladder settings, there's a variety of ways you can have points, depending on how you want it. In my preference is that, well, and actually what I see here, the ITTF standard uses, doesn't, there's a whole variety of different ways you could do this. The ITTF standard would actually be 2, 1, 0, and there's no draws. But otherwise, every competition is different. In Croydon, they would use, 4 points and everything else is 0. But what I can see here at Dandenong, it looks like that they just do it based on wins. So what I would do is that I would actually create, you guessed it, a new ladder, custom ladder, and I call this one wins. It's the same one that I've used for the Premier League. So all it is that you get 1 point for a win, and then you get no points for everything else, right? And what we're going to do is that we're just going to add it and call it wins, right? Then again, you select your setting and select your grade and you pair it, right? It's like that. In your sort settings, now what we might want to do here is that you want to base it on the number of wins, right? So again, you might, the standard one is a pretty good one to use, right? So you have, the number of points, the number of, matches that you've won, or actually instead of matches, you probably want to do it based on wins rather than you want to have, well, points are wins, but you can add in that parameter just so, you are definitely getting it. And then, you might want to do match percentage as opposed to matches for, and then games percentage, teams percentage, and then, you don't really need teams descending, but you could just for the first round. So let's say we use this and we're going to call a new one as, we'll call it Dandenong, right? And that's our setting. And again, we'll click on that, click there, and then we'll pair it. And then, yes, we want to use the sort order as the display order. So the ladder will dynamically change based on this sorting order. Exclusions, no exclusions. Buys, we don't need to care about that. And if we need to make an adjustment because we've penalized the team, then we can make the adjustments as necessary, but we don't need to at this stage. That's only when we get around into actually going through a pennant. Player ladder is a similar story. Again, how many points do they get for a win? Well, again, you might want to just say, well, wins really is they just get, 1 point for a win, right? We save that and then we just match them up. Player ladder sort settings. Again, well, Croydon's got 1 lot. Otherwise, there is a standard. Otherwise, what we could use is that we could just leverage this one here, right? It looks pretty good. Otherwise, standard team, no, I don't want to use rating. I don't want to use points average. I don't really want to use points. Actually, I could use this. I could use this one because effectively wins and points are the same. Points effectively tells you your wins. So I could just use standard. So standard matches for, because the more matches you win as opposed to your match percentage is actually more important. So let's go with this one, and then I'll just pair them up. But again, we can always change this. Form settings, if you want to show, the most recent wins and losses, you can. So you can show that in a 1 week, Jim won all his matches in, which you could show, and you can show, a number of wins, or you can have a win-loss, etc. Or you don't have to show anything, right? So, I'm not going to show anything in this instance. Doubles, do we want doubles to count towards the ladder? From what I can see here, that is a no. So we would have no double scores and then just pair those up. Forfeit settings. Does forfeits count towards the player ladder? That is a decision, but generally, yes, they do. So it counts as a win. So we would just add the player scores, add it to the player scores. Buy settings we don't need to do, and player ladder adjustments we don't need to do. And then we end up at our ladder. Now, what I'm going to do, just so you can see how this looks for the time being, is that I'm just going to add some dummy results to D1. So I'm just going to, create match, and then I'll just do this for the time being, and I'll explain how this all works next time, right? And if I go to ladder, then we can see that some data is starting to get populated, right? So, and I'll do it for the other team as well, just so we're consistent. Right, and then we can see what the ladder looks like. What this provides here is an aggregated summary, okay? Right? But what we can also do is that we can also do this thing called show grids, which can tell us, where, each team, how did each team go against another. Or what we can do is we can do round by round, and then we can see that, well, Spock won against in round 1, etc. But my preference generally is to show grids, or have, this one here, okay? But we can see that if we don't, this is a good one to use, okay? Now, then what we can do is that we can add the parameters that we want to show. So here we could say, oh, we could want to show some points, but points don't really matter because points are the same as wins. So we get rid of that. Maybe I want to show the buys, but there are no buys in this season, so we don't need that. Draws don't matter. We can show matches for, match against. We can show percentage, right? If we really want to, we could show games for, games against. If we want to, that could work. Otherwise, we could do points for, points against even, not necessary. And then we can also show their current placing. Okay, I think showing win-loss, matches for, match against is pretty indicative of what we want to see. So we'll stick with this. Now, then I can go to the play here, and then I can make some adjustments again. So if I'm using a show grids, then I generally like to show the team as well. So then it tells me where the team is. Points, again, points is based on our wins. So that's our match for, match against. I like to show match percentage. We could show games if we really wanted to. I could show games percentage if I really wanted to. What I can see here at Danny Nom is that they generally look at matches played. So I'll just go matches for, match against, and look at, and then using a percentage here. I can add in rating information, I can add in points information. A gap is just generally provides a nice little, makes it easier to read. So I like to keep the gap there. Doubles, we can see how the team goes in doubles, which I think is a nice little, something nice to look at as well. and then we've got our placing as well. So, we don't need to have the placing, but in a competition, but again, you might want to. So I'll take placing away for the time being and then just do this. So this is what we have here for our ladders, right? And what I can do now is that I can actually click on this button here called Print or Grade and Player Ladders. Click on that. I actually want that to come to a PDF. So, not that, my bad. So what I might do is that I might just click Grade and Player Ladder. Click here, and I can see ladder. It opens up. That's how the ladder is printed. All right. So you can see it all nicely presented, and we can see down the bottom here all the details of Facebook and the website. Okay. So that's how a ladder would look, and it's just nicely condensed. All right, but again, those are just some dummy scores just so I can see what it looks like. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm actually going to delete all of these match scores because it's delete. And I actually don't want that. So I'll get rid of all of these results. And then next time you see me speak, it'll be entering results and uploading them to Rating Central. But effectively, this pennant is now ready for to run. So again, I would go to my tables, I'd print out my score, I'll print out, in table sheets, print out my score sheets, and then away I go. And until it's been played, that's all you have to do. So pennant's ready. So thank you for the moment. And in our next video, we'll talk about entering results and uploading to Rating Central. All right, speak to you then.